All right, let's dive into one of the most incredible and honestly, one of the most important stories in all of world history, the Haitian Revolution. This is an epic tale of oppression, unbelievable strategy, and the birth of a nation against, well, against impossible odds. And no, that is not an exaggeration. Out of all the countless uprisings by enslaved people over the centuries, this is the one, the only one, that actually succeeded. It didn't just win a battle, it completely flipped an entire society on its head and created the world's very first independent Black republic. So the big question is, how on earth did they do it? To really get the fire of this revolution, you have to understand the furnace it was forged in. Saint-Domingue, which is what Haiti was called back then, was a French colony. And it wasn't just any colony, it was the single most profitable colony on the planet. A sugar and coffee-making machine that generated insane wealth, all of it built on the backs of hundreds of thousands of brutally enslaved Africans. And then, in August 1791, it just exploded. A voodoo high priest named Bookman lit the match, kicking off a massive revolt with a single brutal goal: wipe out the whites and take the colony for themselves. While the northern plain was literally burning, a free Black man named Toussaint Louverture decided to join the fight. Meanwhile, you've got the French Revolution happening back in Europe, sending these huge shockwaves across the Atlantic. France, in a bit of a panic, first grants some new rights, and then in 1793, a French commissioner just abolishes slavery entirely, hoping to get a lid on the chaos. But it was too late. A new leader was about to forge his own path. And this is where the story really pivots. It goes from being a chaotic, bloody uprising to a strategic war for freedom. And that's pretty much thanks to the emergence of one man, Toussaint Louverture. See, he wasn't just another fighter. He was a political and military genius who was playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers. And this slide right here shows you just how incredibly pragmatic Toussaint was. At first, he actually teams up with Spain to fight the French, and he trains up this army of 4,000 rebels. But then, when Britain invades and he gets worried they're going to bring slavery back, he pulls a complete 180. He ditches the Spanish and joins his former enemies, the French. His loyalty wasn't to a flag, it was to one thing and one thing only: abolition. His rise to the top was just so methodical. First, he spends years grinding down the British forces until they're so disease-ridden and beat down that they just give up and leave. Then, he turns his attention inward, taking on rivals like André Rigaud to lock down his control over the entire colony. By 1799, he was the undisputed top dog, and the French government back in Paris basically had no choice but to make it official and name him governor. And get this, he wasn't just winning battles, he was building a state. He even managed to secure a massive shipment of 30,000 guns from the United States. I mean, think about that. It just proves he wasn't only a general, he was a statesman who could run international diplomacy. He was building a truly professional army. So, Toussaint had pulled it off. He'd effectively created a self-governing Black state. But a new, incredibly powerful figure had just taken over in France, a man who had his own, very different plans for the colony: Napoleon Bonaparte. Publicly, Napoleon was saying all the right things, but his secret instructions to his brother-in-law, Charles Leclerc, told the real story. The plan was simple and brutal: crush Toussaint's government, destroy the authority of the Blacks, and bring back slavery. The ultimate showdown was now unavoidable. Leclerc shows up with a massive army and a really cunning plan. He knew force alone might not work, so first, he plays on rivalries, convincing two of Toussaint's top generals, Christophe and Dessalines, to switch sides. Then, he offers Toussaint a deal that sounds too good to be true. Just surrender, liberty will be guaranteed for everyone, and you can retire peacefully. Toussaint actually agrees, but this was all just a setup for the final treacherous move. The betrayal was just swift. Leclerc invites Toussaint to a meeting, and even though his friends warned him, "Don't go, it's a trap," Toussaint went anyway. The second he arrived, he was arrested, bound like a common criminal, and thrown on a ship headed for France. He would die in a freezing prison cell a year later, never seeing his homeland again.
But here's where Napoleon and Leclerc made a fatal miscalculation. They thought if they got rid of Toussaint, the revolution would just fizzle out. They were so wrong. As soon as word got out that the French were really going to bring back slavery, the island erupted. Toussaint's old generals, Dessalines and Christophe, flicked back, turned on the French, and led a furious final war for true independence. And on January 1st, 1804, Dessalines declared victory. He threw out the French name Saint-Domingue and renamed the nation Haiti, its original indigenous Taino name, a powerful signal that the break from the colonial past was absolute.
So they did it. The revolution succeeded. But how? How did an army of formerly enslaved people defeat not one, not two, but three European superpowers? And what kind of legacy did it leave for Haiti and for the rest of the world? Well, it was really a perfect storm of factors. You had the brilliant leadership of Toussaint that unified everyone. You had a population with an absolutely unbreakable will to be free. They knew the terrain inside and out. And here's the kicker: disease. Yellow fever just ravaged the European troops who had zero immunity. All of that together is how they managed to defeat the armies of Spain, Great Britain, and finally Napoleon's France. Now, for Haiti itself, the victory was, of course, monumental, but it came at a staggering price. On the one hand, they won their freedom, created the first Black Republic, and showed the world what was possible. But on the other hand, the war caused a horrifying loss of life, it completely shattered the economy, and it kicked off generations of political instability. And to make matters worse, the world's major powers, absolutely terrified by what happened, hit Haiti with crippling trade embargoes, isolating it from the very beginning. And you better believe this revolution sent shockwaves across the entire hemisphere. For enslaved people everywhere, Haiti became this powerful, shining symbol of hope. It inspired other revolts all across the Caribbean. But for the slave owners, it was their absolute worst nightmare come to life. And their reaction was to double down, putting in place even tighter, more brutal controls to make sure a Haiti could never happen to them. The economic impact was just as huge. With Saint-Domingue's sugar industry totally collapsed, other places like Cuba jumped in to fill the void, and they became the new sugar powerhouses. And basic economics, when the world's #1 supplier of something disappears overnight, the global prices for things like coffee and cotton just shoot through the roof. The world economy was changed forever. And that really brings us to our final thought here. The Haitian Revolution is this incredible testament to the human spirit's unbreakable desire for liberty. It was a victory against all odds, but it was a victory that left behind a really complex legacy of both amazing triumph and profound struggle. And it kind of forces us to ask a really difficult question. What is the true and often brutal cost of freedom?